Good morning, guys, and welcome to my unboxing and review of the high-grade Super Robot Wars Huckbein Mk II Trombe. Now, I lied at the end of, if you saw my review of the Master Grade Gym Sniper 2 White Dingo, I said I was going to take a look at the Cybaster extra finish version. That was before this arrived, like an hour before I was going to sit down to film this. And considering this is a brand new kit, this is the first printing of it, I believe, on P Bandai. I wanted to take a look at this first. This is the personal mobile suit of Elzam Branstein, who is basically a Char clone in the Super Robot Wars series. He has a distinct color scheme of black and red. He is a rival character with blonde hair, and they even make fun of his disguise as Quadrupagina. Elzam puts on a pair of sunglasses and a leather jacket and calls himself Rätsel Feinschmecker, which is apparently very grammatically incorrect German that's supposed to be mysterious gourmand. But yeah, this is the machine he pilots in the second half of the first Super Robot Wars game, after the Garlean Trombe and being the captain of the Kurogane, and this is before, in the second Super Robot Wars, he pilots the Außenseiter, the kind of Fun-Psyche-like companion unit to the Daigenguar that can turn into a horse. So yeah, I really like Super Robot Wars, and I really like the Huckbein, which is clearly designed to be kind of influenced by Gundam. So yeah, being a premium Bandai release, this does have brand new art for the Trombe, not the typical monochrome that you would see on most other P Bandai boxes, but as you can see, the sides of the box are pretty much barren. There's no info on it. So let's get right into it. So before going to the box, let's take a look at the manual. They did print out a brand new manual for this kit. Unlike typical P Bandai releases, which are completely in black and white, no cover art, no insert info or anything, it's just very bare bones how to build the kit and even the color guides and text. Here's some info on the kit. You can see Elzam here. Very kind of Char-like apart from his color scheme. And then you go over the weapons of the Huckbein Mk II Trombe. Everything, most of the stuff here you would see in the base kit, the photon rifle, the G-impact cannon, the chakram shooter, the beam swords, all of that is in the base Huckbein Mk II. The one new addition to this kit is the assault blade, which was used by the Garlean that he piloted beforehand. Yet inside the manual is a very typical high-grade manual. I will note that the box for this, and normally Super Robot Wars kits have like very, very thick boxes. This one is only like reasonably thick. It's about the same thickness as the high-grade Cal-Ray-Ra, which I'm going to take a look at eventually. Not like comically large like the Cybaster, the Daigenguar, the Altyson. So, for the bags, we get 4 bags of runners, and as for the runners themselves, 10 runners, as well as this foil sticker sheet. It's pretty much just the usual suspects. Cameras for the eyes, the head, and the photon rifle. No color correcting stickers necessary for this kit, which is very nice. Typically the high-grade Super Robot Wars line are very nice high grades. In my opinion, the high-grade Daigenguar, which, fun fact, was supposed to be the first video on this channel, not the F93Y. But yeah, that footage wound up being unusable for a number of reasons. That kit in particular is, in my opinion, it's the best high grade I've ever built. It's a fantastic kit that's pretty much perfect. The only downside is the price tag, which really says a lot about the kit itself. But yeah, going back to the Huckbein Trombe, you will also get this wire for the chakram shooter. Unfortunately, no decals, no water slides or anything, which is kind of a little disappointing, considering both the price of this kit and the fact that it's premium Bandai. I got this kit for $52, which is around the same price as the base Mark II, which is nice, but I think you expect a little bit more for that, but the non-Gundam tax is real, I guess. Anyway, getting into the runners themselves. Alright, so these runners were printed in December of 2024. Runner A is reused from the original Huckbein Mk II. This very nice multicolor runner in 4 different colors. Black for some armor parts, yellow for vent, the V-fin, and various accent parts, some orange here for the eyes and the cockpit, clear green part also for the eyes. Oh no, this orange part I believe is for the chin. Runner B, also from the original Huckbein Mk II, in this very dark gray, almost black for a bunch of different inner frame parts. Runner C, still from the original Huckbein Mk II release, in that same very dark gray are a bunch of parts for the G-impact cannon, the photon rifle, and some joint and hand parts. Runner D1 in red for a bunch of different accent parts. A very small runner for D3 for the blade for the assault blade. Notably, this is not brand new for this kit. This was included with another kit. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it says the design date was 2022. Runner E1 in black. Still from the original Huckbein Mk II release for a bunch of armor parts, as well as parts for the chakram shooter. And it looks like all the parts will be from the original Huckbein Mk II, except for the assault blade, which is from a different kit. That was at least designed around that time, because runner F1 here is more armor parts, still in black, from the original Huckbein Mk II. For beam effects, of course, the venerable SB13 for 2 1/144th scale beam effect parts in clear pink. And then typical for Super Robot Wars kits, we get an action base 4 coming on 2 runners here. Very nice action base. I will probably use this for a different kit. I don't plan to pose this flying. With all those runners out of the way, I will see you after the build. Alright, welcome back. This kit has been snap built and panel lined, or at least what I could panel line. As you can see from the color scheme of this kit being mostly black, any panel lining I would do wouldn't really show up. I tried black, I tried gray, it just doesn't really appear, which is fine. Because a lot of the detail on this kit isn't really from like mold surface detail that you need to panel line to make pop. There's a lot of like two-tone frame parts that show through, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll talk about that more in aesthetics. As for the build, this is a pretty typical high-grade Super Robot Wars kit, which is to say it's very good. You won't see things like a complete inner frame or whatever. It is still a high-grade after all, but color separation is almost perfect. There is one significant deviation from what the color is supposed to be that I'll get into in accessories, but as for this mobile suit itself, I'm pretty sure this is essentially a perfect like recreation of it in terms of colors separation, and it's kind of evident in the build. These Super Robot Wars kits are very kind of min-maxed in terms of the parts they include. They don't really include things that you aren't going to see, but they include everything that you will see. So there's a lot of very small parts that will be loss risks. In particular, those like red parts on kind of the cheeks on the head are very small. I almost lost them. All the yellow parts, all the yellow on the kit are parts that go kind of underneath the black on the outside. You see kind of on the legs that there are little like kind of like lines and holes in the armor where the frame pops through to give this very nice two-tone kind of subtle look with dark gray and black. Yeah, so everything is part separated, everything is color separated. It's a very nice build. And the gate marks are kind of what you would expect from modern kits. Where they can, it is small and on edges so that they don't super show up, although given the very dark color scheme of this kit, you need to be careful on nub removal because nub marks do show up very strongly on this kit. There are a couple that I didn't quite clean up right, and they are still visible if you look at it very closely. Luckily, though, from the distance I'll be looking at it on the shelf, I'm probably not going to see or notice. Aesthetics then. The Huckbein series in Super Robot Wars is very clearly designed to be an homage to Gundam with the V-fin and the general proportions of the face and everything. And it shows. Like, right, because this kit is kind of very, especially when compared to the Huckbein Mk III, which I'll take a look at for comparison later, this kit seems to be an homage to like STEED and things like that, given the kind of slim proportions, the kind of rounded look of a lot of the armor while remaining slim, the like in addition to the sharp edges where things aren't rounded. In particular, that backpack is very kind of Ale Striker packy, although the proportions are nowhere near as extreme as an Ale Striker pack. But yeah, the multiple side antennas on the head in addition to the main V-fin, the general layout of the head cameras and all that, it's very Gundam-esque, which makes sense when you're paying homage to it. And all of it combines to make this very interesting model to have on your shelf. The color scheme of predominantly black being broken up by dark red and like splashes of bright yellow all across the kit for some like, I assume they're supposed to be like panel details, kind of on the ARC-78 like those yellow panels on the skirt that open up for like sub-generator access or whatever. I assume they're supposed to be like that. I don't know if it's officially confirmed in lore what those yellow parts are supposed to be, but yeah, all of it helps to kind of break up what would be a very monotonous black suit. It also helps that the frame it gets to poke through in a bunch of different spots. Like I mentioned earlier, the two-tone contrast between the dark gray and the black it's subtle, but it's very nice, and it helps kind of differentiate this kit from a lot of other high grades you would see where Like, the inner frame would only really poke out of the joints and not really in the lines like you would see on the leg. Now, as for stickers, again, this kit is pretty minimal on stickers. It's really only cameras that have stickers, which very nice for a high grade. It's always good to see. So sticker 1 is for this black and green eye sticker. The eyes underneath this is a transparent clear piece, so you, if you just wanted to paint in the outline in black, you can do that. The head camera up here, I don't know if you can see that, is a foil green sticker for sticker 2. Sticker 3 for this rear head camera in metallic green. The eyes and the head cameras are all one clear green piece, so again, you don't have to put the stickers if you don't want to. Sticker 4 is going to be on the photon rifle for this foil piece for the camera. Alright, so I'll go with articulation before accessories this time, because while I go, after I go over the accessories real quick, I do want to bring in the Huckbein Mk III just for a visual comparison of it and the accessories. So for articulation of the head, it will look up quite far. It's on a double ball joint plastic piece for the neck, so it can swing back and tilt up, like so, to give a nice upward look. It will swing forward and look down into its own chest, which is very impressive. It will tilt side to side a little bit, but again, you have these like sharp protrusions on the side of the head that will clash with these kind of raised vent bits on the torso. And of course, being on a ball joint, it will 360 spin. Shoulders, the joint will pop out and give an extreme swing, much like the Master Grade Gym Sniper 2. The entire shoulder assembly will swing out to give a almost like full 90-degree swing forward, which is very nice. Shoulder itself can raise up to allow the arm to go pretty far, like about 135 degrees, which is nice. Nothing insane, you can't pull off the last shooting pose with it, but it's still more than enough. Of course, as you saw, rotation at the upper bicep. Double joint in the elbow will give a almost full 180-degree bend before it collides with the armor. The hands are on a ball joint, which will do ball joint things. Torso. You get a very nice stomach crunch down. And an equally nice stomach crunch backwards. So the torso will tilt to allow you to pose at aiming at any number of different targets. The backpack. This full, like, kind of boomerang shaped thing is two pieces sandwiched together. It can't, there's no articulation for it, no articulation for the wings either. The only articulation is that these two are both on ball joints, so you can do ball joint things. Oh, and of course the torso can swivel as necessary. For skirt, yeah, so one of the only downsides of this kit, in my opinion, is that the side skirts are extremely loose on the ball joints there, and because of the way the legs are, they kind of protrude out a little bit, so it's very easy to knock them off. So front skirts, they are together on the runner. You can clip them to be separate, so they can rotate all the way up, which is quite nice. Side skirt, don't go up too far before they pop off. Back skirt is fixed in place. There's a little tab here that can pop down for storing the photon rifle. The legs will kick up a little more than 90 degrees. Yep, side raise, just under 90 degrees before the side skirts pop off. Back kick, it'll get like a little under 45 degrees before it's stopped by the back skirt. There is no hip drop mechanism or anything, so you can't get it further. Full double bend in the knee. Ankles, this armor is articulated in multiple spots, so the whole assembly can kind of move independent of the foot, and this little flap here can also move independently on a ball joint. The entire foot does have toe separation. They won't allow it to go down, but yeah, it won't allow it to go down, but be careful because the foot will go flying off, as you just saw. So very nice downward foot bend. The entire thing can tilt up quite far, and this front toe piece can tilt up even further for kind of putting it on the back foot. And of course, you get some very nice side to side tilt. So yeah, overall, articulation is extremely nice on this kit. You can pull off any number of poses. Alright, so for a quick size comparison, here it is next to a standard high grade, being the 1/144th scale Blue Destiny Unit 1, and a standard master grade, being the 1/100 Jim Sniper 2 White Dingo Custom. So as you can see, this kit is kind of in between the two. It's kind of like new Gundam-y in height. The Super Robot Wars line isn't a line of scale model kits, but the real robots, in particular this, the Altyson, the Gespenst, etc., are basically 1/144th scale, because in universe they're about 20 meters tall, which is a little shorter than the new Gundam, and this is a little shorter than the new Gundam, and significantly taller than a standard high grade. So keep that in mind if you are considering shelf space for it. So for accessories, here's the high grade Huckbein Mk II Trombe with everything it comes with. So starting with hand options, you get the the standard holding hand / trigger finger hands for both left and right side that I have on the kit right now. If you look at it closely, the trigger finger slightly the index finger is slightly extended past the rest of the fingers to give it kind of a more convincing trigger finger pose. You get this nice pair of open expressive hands for both the left and right side. You get an action base 4, which is it's just identical to the retail release of the 4, except you get a black base with a clear arm instead of both being one or the other. You get a wire for use with the wire chakram. This part will attach onto the holder and the elbows. You can see the chakrams in the inactive state, that kind of disc in that big holder on the left elbow. When in use, you take the disc out, plug the rectangle in, and then just have the chakram in the air with the blades out. The chakram itself is very light, so no stand necessary like the Huckbein Mk III with the Fang Slasher. You have a photon rifle, which if you have any other Huckbein kit is going to be identical to the one on the Mark III, except the accents are going to be in red instead of white. Of course, you have the G Impact Cannon, this very large big cannon thing that it will hold in both hands. You kind of flip the bottom out, swing the handles out, and then I can just hold on to both. You can hold onto both handles, and it'll clip onto the crotch for firing. And of course, the main new accessory for the Huckbein. This was at least included in some other kits. As you saw, the runner date for the Assault blade itself was 2022. But yeah, this is a quite large sword for a high grade. It's almost as tall as the Huckbein itself, and it is, in fact, as tall as a standard high grade. This is the one part of the kit that isn't entirely color accurate. As you can see, these yellow parts here on the runner were just all in the same kind of Huckbein navy blue as the rest of the blade, but I just painted those details in with a seed yellow Gundam marker. So for a quick visual comparison, here's the Huckbein Mk II Trombe right next to the standard Huckbein Mk III. As you can see, the two units are they're very clearly from the same family, but there are a number of significant differences between the two. First off, stability. That's the major kind of mechanical difference between the two, in my opinion. As you can see from the large missile pods on the Huckbein Mk III's backpack, it was much harder to get it to just even stand up straight. When it's in a kind of more balanced pose with one leg out in the back to support it, it's fine, but just in a neutral standing pose, it was more difficult to get it to not fall over backwards. But you can see a number of differences in the geometry of the kits. The Mark III in general is bulkier, with more armor in the torso and the shoulders. Most notably, the placing of the yellow parts in the skirt is also significantly different. The shape of the side skirts is completely different, being kind of a typical UC style square rather than the very CE angular side skirts of the Trombe. And the backpack is also kind of reminiscent of UC, being very utilitarian with just boosters and missile pods instead of the Ale Striker, very sharp and angled backpack of the Trombe. And also in the head, you can see that there's a lot more kind of there's different color variants. In the Mark II, you can see the face is broken up with a splash of red on the cheeks, whereas in the Mark III, instead of that, you have a very large, prominent white head crest, almost Gundam TR1-esque. But yeah, I think it's very interesting to see these two next to each other to kind of see the progression between them. I've mentioned this before, I really like seeing developmental through lines. Yeah, so turning around to show off the Mark III's photon rifle, you can see it is very identical to the Mark II's, except just with a different accent color, red instead of white. On the arm, you can see the Fang Ripper here. It's significantly bulkier than the holder for the wired chakram on the Mark II, and in addition, the actual projectile itself is much larger. It looks a little blunter too. It's supposed to project like energy blades or whatever while it's active, but we don't get effect parts for it. But yeah, this is also significantly larger. The Mark III kept falling over, so I had to put in this mega lean to get it to stand up. But yeah, I also forgot to mention there are beam sabers on the Mark II, of course, just on the inside of the side skirts. The beam sabers are identical between the two, so I don't really see a point in showing them off. And of course, the heavy artillery between the two. The Mark III's graviton rifle and the Mark II's G-impact cannon. As you can see, they decided to make it a little more practical because this is a absolutely gigantic weapon that it needs 2 hands to carry and severely hampers its mobility, which is clearly the focus of the Mark II, with the frame poking out of the legs, less armor, lighter, the mobility-focused backpack with no weapons on it, and in general the kind of lighter, slimmer proportions of the two show that it's more focused on mobility than armor, whereas the 3 is very much focused on armor. Perhaps they learned something from the Tyson's development, but anyway. Yeah, so the graviton rifle is significantly smaller and sleeker, and is held in one hand as opposed to the 2 of the graviton rifle. And the Mark III doesn't really have an equivalent to the assault blade, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. Anyway, with that quick visual comparison out of the way, let's get into some poses. Alright, so getting it into a bit of a spin on the ground with a pose firing the wired chakram upwards. This is a kit that does look pretty natural on the ground. The wire is definitely strong enough to hold up the chakram. If you see a little bit of shaking, it is contacting a bit of the background in my photo booth, so just don't worry about that. That's my setup problem. But yeah, this is a kit that looks very good on the ground, and as you'll see later, in the air. The wired chakram is definitely a very interesting weapon. It's not every day you see a high-grade kit with a flying buzzsaw as a weapon that you can use. I'm not the biggest fan of the wire chakram on this. It's definitely interesting, but I don't really like the way the elbow opens up to fire it, and I think there are much more interesting weapons you can pose this kit with, such as the beam rifle. I think the photon rifle is definitely a very interesting sculpt for the beam rifle. I think the kind of color pattern it goes with dark gray and that kind of dark muted red that the Trombe uses as an accent color is quite nice. It definitely, I think, together with the mobile suit, really brings it all together. Of course, I have it in this kind of running and gunning pose. This kit was a little more difficult to get into this pose and have it kind of stand up stably than something like the Blue Destiny Unit 1 or the Master Grade Gym Sniper 2, because you see the feet are thinner, and it definitely has a lot more trouble like maintaining balance due to the rather large backpack. But this pose is quite nice. It can do it. It doesn't look the most natural, the limit on the back kick from the back skirt, and just kind of making sure the backpack stays out of the way of its leg is kind of annoying. I would not really pose it like this, although it can pull it off. So getting this kit up on the action base 4 that comes with it into the standard STEED-esque downward firing pose, it definitely looks good on this kit. I'm not exactly sure when the Mark II design surfaced, but a lot of the kind of design language of this kit feels very STEED-esque, what with the very kind of slim proportions, the mix of curves on the legs, along with the very angular parts of the upper body, and especially that backpack, somewhat resembling an Ale Striker pack. But yeah, the photon rifle looks extremely good in this pose. This is a pose I would consider having this kit on the shelf. It looks excellent in the air. Definitely this kind of very mobile, more lightly armored than a typical mobile suit, or I guess in the series Personal Trooper, would look. Definitely feels right in the air. It's very dynamic. The black being broken up by all those different colors in this pose looks quite nice, and that continues into the melee options, such as the 2 beam sabers and the side skirts. Although, especially on the Trombe, I wouldn't really want to use the beam sabers when you have the assault blade, which I'll show a pose in coming up. This is kind of in a forward flight charging pose, and definitely the backpack on this kit really shines when you have it kind of incorporated in the pose, showing it, giving the Huckbein a lot of mobility. But it does have its fair share of problems in interfering or in the photon rifle mounted on the back skirt interfering with the ability to pose the backpack. I kind of had to swing it around to get behind the rifle so it wouldn't collide. I think if you want to pose it flying through the air and you want a dynamic pose out of the backpack, then you should probably remove the photon rifle from the back skirt. It does get in the way. If the backpack had the kind of large boomerang-shaped section separated into two parts that could articulate separately, then maybe that would be resolved, but as is, it's a little annoying. Here is the main kind of unique difference, besides the color scheme, between the Trombe and the standard Mark II, the inclusion of the assault blade, which does look quite nice. I think it's very interesting that the blade portion maintains the original, the color scheme of the original Mark II, with that navy blue broken up by a couple of yellow accents. It looks right with this kit. It was clearly included for a reason. I think in-game it didn't have it, but the previous suit that Elzam piloted, the Garlean Trombe, did. But yeah, it looks right with this kit. Kind of, again, the mix of slim rounded parts and very aggressive angular parts alongside this large blade weapon just looks right. I have a kind of here in a flying, about to perform a side slash kind of pose, and it does look good, but again, the photon rifle on the back skirt getting in the way of posing the backpack kind of hinders it a little bit. I would consider removing the photon rifle if you want to have it in some kind of dynamic aerial pose with the backpack being involved. The Action Base 4 is nice, but I might consider using a different action base with this kit. It's good for like the super robots, but the arms are very long, and to get into kind of a reasonable height off the shelf, you do have to make the arms extend very far out to the back, which, depending on your shelf space, might not be super feasible. Last, but certainly not least, is the G-Impact Cannon, the gigantic crotch cannon that fires a black hole. There's only really one pose you can have this in, kind of a wide-legged, just firing pose. It looks extremely good. If I had the standard Huckbein Mark II, I would definitely pose it with this, just for how kind of impressively large it is and for how unique it is. I can't really recall off the top of my head any like Gundam mobile suits that have a gigantic crotch cannon. That again, in canon, there is like a kind of an attachment point in the Huckbein's crotch that folds down, that connects it directly to the generator to power up this cannon. And it's also reflected in this mobile suit. I didn't mention it in the articulation section, I forgot. The front kind of crotch section can fold down. There is an attachment point for a peg in the G-Impact cannon. But yeah, this is a very kind of impressive weapon that will definitely give the Huckbein a lot of shelf presence. Again, this is the weapon I would pose it with on the shelf if this wasn't the Trombe that included the assault blade. So I'll throw it up on the base here next to Elzam's sworn friend Sanger in the Dai Genguar. Again, I kind of wish we either got the Grungus Type 0 to match the Huckbein, or the Außenseiter for Elzam to match the Dai Genguar. But anyway, in conclusion, this is an excellent kit. It poses great, it builds great, it looks great, the accessory spread is all you could ask for and more. Every single option that it has in the accessories poses great with it. The open hand options look extremely dynamic. They have a great sculpt. They don't fall into the trap of being a little like limp or awkward. But yeah, the assault blade is definitely a great addition to the Huckbein's kit. The Huckbein isn't really a mobile suit you would consider to be kind of like a melee suit, but it definitely fits, especially with the kind of black, yellow, and red color scheme, giving it a more aggressive flair. And it really does bring out kind of the STEED-esque design with the sharp edges, the slim legs, and the kind of more rounded parts, as opposed to the Mark III's very kind of blocky proportions, and especially for the price. Being a Super Robot Wars kit, it is more expensive than a typical high grade. A lot of these kits come in like between $45 and $60, which for a high grade, extremely expensive if you're going for a Gundam kit, but non-Gundam tax is real. And this kit being about the same price as the Huckbein Mark II, at least if you don't get it scalped on Premium Bandai, it is about the same price as you could get the Mark II and from US like specialty retailers like USA Gundam Store, New Type, Galactic Toys. I saw the kit on Walmart for $80. That is ridiculous. Do not buy it there, the standard Mark II. But in this kit, you are paying about the same price as the standard Mark II. You are getting what is, in my opinion, a better color scheme and a new weapon. You are getting more for the same price, so it's an easy recommend if you like the design. If you're not the biggest fan of the design, the price can be a deal breaker, and I wouldn't recommend it in that case. But Super Robot Wars is a great franchise. I really want to see more kits made from it. I am just waiting for the day we get either the Grungus, we can get the Grungus Type 0, or if we go into the International Era games, I really want to get like a Vang Ray or a Vang Nex kit. But yeah, that was my review of the Huckbein Mk II Trombe. What do you think of this kit? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a like, and if you want to see more reviews like this in the future, make sure to subscribe. I did mention at the beginning I lied, and this video was originally supposed to be the Cybaster Extra Finish video. That video will be coming next week after the next video, which is going to be on the Master Grade Re-GZ Char's Counterattack version. I'll see you then.